Hello, I'm glad to greet all the participants in our webinar, and I think we can start now. Today it will be unusual. We have a special guest from the USA, Noah Good. He will clear up some difficult questions. They are connected with language, communication, and culture. Hello, Noah, how are you?
Hello, I'm doing very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm fine too, thank you. Our topic today is how to produce a good impression when speaking to an American. And we have a plan. Let's look at it. You can see there are some points which we will discuss today. By the way, if you have some questions, you can write them in chat, and at the end of the webinar we will answer them, and you can write both in English or in Russian. So first we will learn how to start a conversation with a foreigner, in particular with an American. Then we will speak about non-verbal communication. And if you don't know what it is, we will explain it to you a bit later. Then we will look at the differences between American English and British English, because there are some things that are not the same in the USA and in Great Britain. And next we will discuss stereotypes about Americans, and at the end of our webinar you will have a small surprise. I think we can start our discussion. And Noah, my first question is, do you remember some situation when you got acquainted with somebody? How did you do that? What was your first phrase?
So when I met, for instance, my boss, my employer, the first thing I would say to him was, hello, my name is Noah, it's a pleasure to meet you. And I would reach out my hand and we'd shake hands. And so I would say the first thing I said was hello, my name, and then how are you?
I see. But will greetings differ if you meet not your boss, but, for example, your friend?
Sure, I might say something a little more casual, like, hey, I'm Noah, and I would still go for the handshake, but it would be less formal.
It would be less formal, I see. But you've said that you can say hello to your boss or to your teacher, for example, at university. Yeah.
Yes. Hello is an acceptable greeting for someone of a higher
You see, there is a difference in this between Russian culture and American, because in Russia it would be a familiarity if you say to your boss or to your teacher hello. Of course, it depends on a person. Maybe a teacher is so friendly and he can also say hello, but in general we can say hello only to our friends. Yes, it is like this. Okay, you say hello, and what should you say next?
Generally, I would then ask how someone is doing. So I would say, hello, how are you? It's just generally the polite thing to say.
Okay. And what can he answer? He or she, what can he or she answer to this?
Usually something positive. So I'm doing fine. I'm doing well. Everything's great. Most of the time, never anything bad.
Okay, I see. So I always should say I'm fine, even if I'm in a bad mood. For example, my neighbors left their tap running in their bathroom and they spoiled my flat. Can I say I'm awful, or I still should say I'm fine and smile?
Sure. If it was a friend asking you, I think it would be okay to say that everything is awful, my apartment is flooded. But if it is your boss or someone in a professional context, you would still be expected to say, oh, everything's fine.
I see. And also there is a difference here between Russian and American culture, because if you ask this question in Russian, a person can tell you about his problems during an hour, and you should be prepared to listen to him and to sympathize with him. And sometimes it is better not to ask how are you if you don't have enough time to listen to all his problems. And I've heard that sometimes people instead of how are you say how do you do. Is it possible to say so?
I would say it's a much more British thing to ask. It's much more common in Britain from what I've seen, and in America it's not so common, but you would be understood for sure. It's an expression that Americans know but just might not necessarily use.
I see. And do Americans use such greetings as good morning, good afternoon, or good evening?
Good morning is very common. That's a very common expression to use. Once again, the other two, good afternoon and good evening, would be understood, but just generally are not as common on a conversational basis.
Okay, but can you say good morning if it is afternoon or evening already?
No, absolutely not. Only in the morning.
Okay, I see. And do greetings in emails or in social networks differ from greetings in our oral speech?
Yes, I think an acceptable way to start an email in a professional context would be, for instance, if you were writing to me, to say, hello, Noah, and then the message. If it was to a friend or someone with whom you are more familiar, to say, dear Noah, or you could still say, hey, Noah, or something like that.
It is almost the same as when we speak. Just hello will be enough and will be appropriate in this situation. Yes. I see. And now I want to make some conclusions concerning this point. So we should say hello for formal greetings, and we can say hi for informal greetings. And how are you is just a polite question, and we should always ask it. It is a kind of friendliness, politeness, and if you don't ask this question, a person can think that you are rude. Really? Is it really so? So don't forget to ask how are you, and how do you do is better for British English. And also you can say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, but good morning is more popular than all the rest phrases. And when you write an email, you can use hello. Okay, and there is a question in our chat. Let's look at it and try to answer. Noah, the question is, what about what's up? Is it used?
Yes, it's very common, but only in informal settings. So if I were to see a friend of mine, I could say, oh, hey, what's up? And it would fulfill the same purpose as asking, how are you? Now, an acceptable response to what's up would be nothing. And I see the next question about morning instead of good morning. It can be used. You could say morning, but oftentimes you would still hear good morning. It's more acceptable in a formal context to say good morning, and then informally you could just say
I see. And there is one more question. How is it going up?
Yes. The question that would be asked there is similar to what's up, and it's how's it going? And the answer to that in a positive way would be like, it's going well.
So there are a lot of variants to which we can use instead of how are you in informal speech.
Yes, but yes, that's correct.
I see. Okay, now we can discuss the next point, and it concerns non-verbal communication. So, could you explain to us what non-verbal communication mean?
So in English, because we don't have any formal case, we normally rely on things like nonverbal communication to show that we're happy or that we're being polite. And so a big part of that is making eye contact with whomever you're talking to. Also, as I'm sure you all know, Americans smile a lot, and that is our way of saying that. That's our way of saying that we're being polite, that we're paying attention, that we're being friendly. I see shaking hands on here is also very important when meeting people. It's very important in American culture, as well as gestures. We use our hands a lot when we talk. So these things will help to kind of send your message a little bit more than maybe just the words would not be able to.
They maybe they help to understand you better. You present you can show your mood and that you are ready to listen to using this nonverbal communication, and your partner will I don't know how to explain. Here will be more positive when you use this nonverbal communication tips, and here will communicate with you. Your communication can become more efficient if you use this eye contact and if you smile. Am I right? I see.
Absolutely.
Okay, and what if a person doesn't smile? Will your partner continue listening to you, or he will just go away and won't talk to you?
Sure. Well, I think smiling in American culture is generally just a way of being polite. And so if someone were to not smile at all in a conversation, I wouldn't walk away necessarily, but I would think that they were angry or maybe that they were rude. But that's, once again, it depends on the person you're talking to.
I see.
So it's just generally a good idea.
And you said that shaking hands is important, and does it work both for women and men?
Yes. When meeting a woman, especially in a business context, the acceptable way to greet her is by shaking her hand, just as you would a man. And
if we speak about informal situation, do women shake hands or not?
Informally, I suppose when first meeting someone, nice to meet you, you would shake hands. I think it would depend on the person, but oftentimes when I see my female friends, I wouldn't shake hands with them when seeing them.
Okay, I see. And are there any gestures which are typical of Americans? I know that such gesture is typical. Is it so? And what does it mean?
This is just it's a positive thing, so you could say, yes, this is good, that is okay with me, or I agree, right? The thumbs up is generally an informal way to agree or to show positivity. Very similar to ones Russian use, I'm sure. We wave just as anyone else does. Yeah, of course. You know, when we don't know something, we might go like that. But yeah, I would say the thumbs up is one that I know in other cultures may have different meanings, but in America it's very positive.
I see. So we can use them and to show that everything is okay and that something is good. Okay, I see. So let's make some conclusions. So nonverbal communication is very important. You should keep eye contact with the person with whom you speak. You should be friendly and smile always. We can practice now. Yes, and you should shake hands when you meet someone and or when you say goodbye. Okay, and I think we discussed this topic enough, and we can move to the next question. It is connected with differences between American English and British English, but I see that there is a question in our chat. Let's read it because it is connected with our previous question. While they introducing, Americans often try to hug me. Is it okay?
In an informal context, if it's someone with whom I'm very close, or if it is a friend of my close friend, hugging is an acceptable way to do things, but certainly you might run into more problems doing that because some people don't like to be hugged. So generally, I would say the safest bet, the safest way to do it is to go for the handshake, and if they try to hug, it just means that they're very friendly.
I see. And I think in Russian also only a person can hug you only if you are close friends or maybe your relatives. Yes, but strangers, I think, will not hug you, and not everyone wants to be hugged. It depends on a person and on its character. And so now let's talk about Americans' character. And Americans, as we already mentioned, are very polite. Is it true?
Yes. Once again, America is a very large country, so if you're in, let's say, New York, people may be less polite than if you were in the southern part of the country. So there are differences, but by and large, yes, we are a culture that is very concerned with being polite. So always making the right social gestures and things like that.
And sometimes it seems that there are such situations when you say thank you, excuse me, sorry, when they are not necessary. Why is it so?
It's very true. I mean, we apologize again and again, even when things may not be our fault. And we say thank you again and again, thank you very much, for things that, you know, may be very small. I really could not explain it to you. It's just, it's certainly a part of our culture. You don't want to be perceived as rude in American culture. That's a very bad thing to be. So by always apologizing and always, you know, thanking people, we can assure that we will not be perceived as rude.
So not to seem rude, you always say thank you and excuse me. And is there a difference between excuse me and sorry? Because some think that they are the same. Could you tell us if there is a difference or not?
Yeah, I would say excuse me is kind of a it's less. So if I wanted to, if I was in the metro, right, if I was in the subway and it was very crowded and I was bumping into people, I could say, oh, excuse me, to scoot past. Or if I was in a conference and I wanted to make a point and politely interject, I could say, oh, excuse me, and enter. Sorry is much more like begging forgiveness. So if I had done something wrong to you, if I had, accidentally interrupted you, I could say, oh, I'm sorry. But I will say it's much better to use sorry always instead of using excuse me at a time that it may not be appropriate.
I see. Sorry will be all right in the first situation you described and in the second also. And there is again a question, when should we use beg? I beg your pardon.
You could use it for the first example when you're excusing yourself, or if you didn't hear something the first time, and you could say, oh, I beg your pardon, and then it would be repeated to you. But I think it's kind of a British phrase, but we use it in America when we want to hear something again. So if I misheard you, I could say, I beg your pardon, and you would be able to speak.
And you can say, excuse me, could you repeat, please, also is possible. I see. And is it true that American English is more expressive than British English?
I know that we like to use very strong words, so if I ate my friend's cooking, I would say, oh, it was delicious, it was amazing, or if my friend wasn't around, I could say, it was awful, it was terrible. And British English might be a little more, it was tasty, it was good. So oftentimes we'll use very strong words like that.
Okay, you're very emotional, and British English is more, I don't know, Britons are more reserved, maybe they don't use such strong words because of this, because of culture. Thank you. And so, as we just said, Americans are very polite and emotional, and when you are in America, you should say thanks and excuse me almost always. Okay, it's a joke, when it is appropriate, of course. And there is a difference between excuse me and sorry. When you are going to do something, for example, ask something, or ask to repeat, or something else, you should say excuse me. But when you feel sorry for something you have already done, it is better to say sorry. And there are a lot of expressive words such as exactly, terrible, amazing, and so on. And again, there is a question. Американский язык, есть еще выражения американские, но не из английского языка. And the question is, I will translate it to you. Are there any American expressions, but not from English language? Not from British English, I'm sorry.
So maybe words that we take from another language other than English?
Yes. Maybe I beg your pardon. Pardon is not, I think, British, no?
I think pardon is an English word. We would say, you can say bravo or brava, right, at the end of a show. If you're at the theater, things like that, that's a word that's used. And I can't think of any off the top of my head, but a lot of French words have found their way into English. English is a language that takes a lot from other cultures. I can't think of any at the moment, but it's not unheard of. I would say you're better off using English words when possible, though.
And you've said bravo, yes? And I saw some film. I saw the film and one in English, and a woman always used this word and always said bravo, and now I understand you. And it seemed to me strange because I understood that it is not from British English. Yes. No, and Do you hear me now? Because yes, because there was some problem, I think, with the picture I see with your picture. Okay, let's continue then. And now I would like to discuss differences in language in British and American English. Are there any differences? Okay. And I'm sorry for interrupting. I will help you. I'll show you the table so that you can use and give us some examples. And so if I say British variants, do Americans understand me well, or they will think sometime and only then will answer, or okay. And okay, and could you comment on some other examples? For example, I'm interested, in spelling at first. We see that there is difference, and so if we write these words using the British variant, will it be a mistake? I see. And as for prepositions, we in America we only can say on the street and on weekends. We can't say in the street at weekends. Okay, I see. And both. Okay, I see. And there are two questions from Margarita. And her question is, how often do Americans use tense? I think she means do you use all the tenses? Because at school we study 16 tenses, and do you use all of them or just basic tenses? What can you say? Mhm. 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 I see. Mm, But but still you use mm, a lot of tenses, not only three tenses: future, past, and present, but mm, a lot of many. I see. And hi, there are more questions. Could you read them and answer? Mhm. Um, mhm, mhm. You're I see. And there are more examples concerning grammar. And in the first sentence, we can see the use of present perfect in British English. We have just done it. And in American, we just did it. So you can't say we have just done it. Okay. And the second sentence is almost the same. I haven't seen them and I didn't see them. hmm okay, and you don't use the expression has got. You say he has a big family. Only the verb has. I see. Thank you. So when when you are in America, you should remember these differences. Or in most situations, you will be understood, but still, it is better to use the vocabulary and grammar, spelling, and yes, prepositions which are appropriate for American English. Okay. Mm-hmm. I see. And No, there are some stereotypes about Americans, and we want to know what is true and what is false. So I'll read a stereotype, and you please comment on it and say whether it is true or false. So, and the first stereotype is connected with arms, so weapons, and it is that every person has a gun in his pocket. Do you have? I see. So it is false, and you shouldn't be afraid to be shot in the USA. Yes. Okay, and the next stereotype concerns fast food. Um, it is people think that all Americans eat only fast food. Is it true? I see. And if a person if a person doesn't eat fast food, what will he or she eat then? Or will he go to a restaurant, or he will just buy something? He will just buy anything at the shop and cook it. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Uh, and could you explain? I didn't understand. So eating in restaurants is very expensive, but you do you go to? Uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh. Oh, uh-huh, uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Yes, now I see. Okay, thank you. So this is true, and if you go to the USA, you should be ready to eat fast food or spend a lot of money going to restaurants. Yes, and the next stereotype is that Americans rarely travel abroad. Is it true or false? Uh-huh. Okay, and where did you travel? Ah, really? Okay, and we'll speak about it a bit later. And okay, and do you travel around the country, around your country? Mhm, mhm. Okay, it is more popular than travel abroad, but within country it is Americans more often travel within the country than they travel abroad. Okay, so it is true, this stereotype is true. Americans really seldom travel abroad. And the next stereotype is that any person in the USA earns much money, even if he or she doesn't have education. Is it true? Mhm, 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 mhm. Mhm. So it is false, and to be a rich person, you should have education and should work a lot. And if you don't know nothing and you have no skills or talents, you won't be rich. Mhm. Okay, it is clear now. And the next stereotype is that New York is the capital of the USA. A lot of people think so. Um, and is it true? And why do people think so? Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. So is it smaller than it is smaller than New York, and that is why not everyone knows that it is the capital of the USA. So Washington is the capital of the USA. And the next stereotype is that Hollywood is a film studio. Is it true? Mm-hmm. So it is not a film studio, it is a district of Los Angeles. And the next stereotype is that Americans' favorite clothes is jeans. Is it really so? Mm-hmm. Uh, okay, and so it is true that you should wear jeans to look like an American. And and the next stereotype is that Americans don't study foreign languages because all the world speaks English. Is it true? Oh! Oh, and people in chat support you, and I think those who didn't know that you can speak Russian were really surprised, and there are some of them who you already know from your previous not webinar, but from your class which you had some time ago with our group, English group. Uh, and we have some questions for you. And the first question is, and I will ask you it in Russian. Ной, почему ты учишь русский? Как это приятно слышать. А что для тебя самое трудное в русском языке? Ага, да, да, склонение. Ага. Окончание, наверное, в словах. Мгм. Хорошо, понятно. Есть стереотипы у американцев о России? Ага, ага. Мгм. И да, я поняла тебя. Но мгм. Да, это неправда. Мы смеемся, мы улыбаемся, просто улыбка у нас отличается от улыбки в Америке. Smile is something that a person should deserve, because we can smile at our friends, at our relatives. If a person, if we like this person, if he's nice to us, and then we can smile. And it is really difficult to see a person who smiles at public transport or in a shop or on a street. On yes, and but in a circle of friends or with our relatives, we can have fun, we smile, we laugh, and etc. uh, And there is some question about stereotypes. It is that all Russian people drink vodka. Is there such stereotype in America? Okay, but it is not true. And and my sister, there is one more stereotype that in Russians, that all Russians have bears at their flats, and some think that they walk on our streets and we can say hello to it. Yes. It, it was the same difficult as to get American visa. Not. Yes, I see now. Okay, thank you. And maybe you have some questions to me or to our participants. We will be glad to answer your questions. В школе мы изучаем разную историю. Например, мы изучаем древнюю историю, ancient history. Также мы изучаем историю средних веков, medieval history. И мы изучаем современную историю, contemporary history, so different types of history. There are a lot of subjects which are connected with history. And Galina has written that know nothing of American history, no schools. So. Yes, Russian history, some participants helped me to answer, and what else? Soviet history, and some Irina is surprised that you have history, and I see. And Елизавета wrote that she learned the history of law of foreign countries, but I think because I think she studied it at the university, but not at school. Okay, and do you have any other questions? Okay, maybe our participants also have questions to you, because when you start speaking Russian, the interest to you increased, I think. And the question is, when are you going to come to Russia? To study what? Yes, I see. And how long? How long do you? Oh, yeah. How long do you study English? And do you have classes at your university? Я поняла. How many classes do you have a week, for example? Russian language, I mean. 4. Is it enough, or you would like to have more? Yeah. Yeah. Yes, you're right. And what did you? There is one more question. What did you read in Russian? Did you read anything? Pushkin, for example? Да? Maybe to great. Ah. And the question is, do you have a Russian teacher? Yes, Margarita. She is from linguistic university, and I think you saw some webinars with her. Your teacher is Marina, yes? Marina Sokolov, yes, I see. Yes, and his teacher is from Nizhny Novgorod, yes. Okay, it is very interesting to know a lot, to learn this information from you, that you can speak Russian. It is so pleasant and nice, and it's really cool. Come to Nizhny Novgorod. Yes, I think you don't have relatives, but now you can have a lot of friends in Nizhny Novgorod, and you can come to Nizhny, to Yaroslavl, and yes, you will have friends which I think will have to learn your Russian, and who can do an excursion for you or something like that. And there are most of fans are from Nizhny Novgorod, then come to Nizhny Novgorod first, and then to Yaroslavl, and then to Moscow you can, but start with Nizhny Novgorod. And the Volgograd, yes, also. Yes, that's all. If there are no any questions, I think we can finish our webinar, but of course I should say спасибо тебе, огромное, большое спасибо за твои ответы на вопросы, за то, что ты помог нам понять разницу между английским вариантом английского языка и американским вариантом английского языка. Мы много узнали сегодня, поэтому спасибо тебе. И я хочу сказать спасибо всем участникам также за внимание, за активность, за вопросы. And I really liked to speak to you and to get acquainted with you. And I hope that one day you will we can communicate and we'll make one more webinar. It depends on you and on us, of course, and we hope that you will help us in the future and we will help you with your Russian. We'll try. Okay, and there are no questions if I'm not mistaken. Thank you very much. There are a lot of thanks to you today. Yes. Okay. So no, thank you very much, and I should say goodbye. Goodbye, bye bye.